Now, the Madlanga Commission will continue to hear evidence from witnesses in relation to allegations made by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. And we join SABC News team of Ayanda, Nyathi and Canny Maphanga live at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. Now, Ayanda, of course, one of the things we are waiting to hear is, of course, who will be appearing today and just what the order of things will be. But, of course, also an opportunity for yourself and Canny to walk us through more of what was said yesterday.
Absolutely, Sakina, and your guess is as good as mine. We keep refreshing our phones to see if there's any message from Jeremy Michaels, the spokesperson of the Commission, who around this time usually gives us a sense of how the day is likely to unfold. Because yesterday proceedings ended later than usual, the start today is slightly delayed, so it's no longer the traditional 9:30, but at 10 o'clock we expect the commissioners to step out, and by then hopefully there'll be a whole lot more information about who this witness will be. However, since we're still in phase one of this inquiry, we are anticipating that whoever the person is will continue building on what we've already heard before. Canny Maphanga, as you mentioned, is also with us here at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. And I suppose, Canny, as we continue waiting, it's worth highlighting some of the salient moments that came from Dumisani Kumalo's testimony yesterday. At some point, we heard about this meeting that took place in January, where the suspended minister in Senzo Mkhunu apparently backed this decision to investigate certain people who are implicated in this kind of collusion that we're told is happening within the SAPS. And among the people who are implicated was Shadrach Sibiya.
Indeed. So once the December decision is taken on the 31st of December and is communicated in this letter that gets circulated everywhere but the actual parties that are impacted and affected by this decision, we then see that on the 7th of Jan, the Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibiya then allegedly presses Lieutenant General Dumisani Kumalo for a closing report of the PKTT. Mind you, General Fanny Masemola, who is the National Commissioner, is on leave. He only returns around the 14th. So Dumisani Kumalo tells him that, look, I don't know what this is about. I'd rather wait for our National Commissioner so I can get direction on this. Then the National Commissioner and Dumisani Kumalo have a meeting with the police minister, now suspended police minister Senzo Mkhunu, about this decision because they want an understanding. Because remember, the letter is not informed by anything that they understand. They weren't consulted. They don't know what it's about. They don't know the reasons because the letter is quite vague and it uses strong language as he was trying to illustrate. So in that meeting, they do a presentation to show him the work of the PKTT and the kind of nets they're closing in on with respect to the close comforts that alleged criminal cartels enjoy allegedly from high-ranking SAPS officials. He then says he gave him a presentation with the names of high-ranking SAPS officials, which you've already heard being mentioned before the commission, the names of the likes of General Shabiri, Brigadier Nkwashu, and Lieutenant General Shadrach Sibiya, to name a few. He doesn't name one of the police officers because he says the investigations are still at an advanced stage. Now, what he tells us is that from that meeting, the police minister then says, okay, well, they can continue with their work and that they must update him accordingly. But what follows the next day is yet another letter from Sibiya pressing him about this closing report. And he's saying he doesn't know what to write on this closing report because he didn't disband the PKTT. He doesn't know the reasons behind it. He wasn't consulted as the project lead about this. But you have someone who is a Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection taking it upon himself to request a closing report on the PKTT, which really we're getting an understanding that it should be the job of the National Commissioner.
Yeah, Dumisani Kumalo said this was like overstepping.
Yes, like completely outside of the scope, and we know that Sibiya was not involved in the work of the PKTT. The project lead was Lieutenant General Dumisani Kumalo. And then, of course, the National Commissioner would have been the person who facilitated that meeting between Mkhunu and Kumalo, the head of intelligence. But here you have Sibiya, who we now know is implicated to a great extent with these alleged criminal cartels, to the extent that we're now seeing CCTV footage that links not only him to this alleged cartel, but his people from his office at the home of Katiso KT Melefe just days prior to his arrest. So you're starting to get an understanding, or you're starting to understand the suggestion behind what is being made and the evidence that there was just this rush to ensure that the closing report of the PKTT is done and that the PKTT disbandment is immediate,
Right.
not something that takes some time to wind down in light of the letter that was sent on the 31st of December 2024.
Interesting indeed, and we'll get a sense of whether or not that picture will continue to be constructed here at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College, where the inquiry is set to resume, I beg your pardon, as I mentioned, at 10 o'clock. Yesterday, proceedings went late because Dumisani today, Dumisani Kumalo that is appearing in court in relation to the fraud charges that he's facing. Of course, the case brought forward by IDEC, and if you're still keeping up, the head of IDEC is expected in Parliament today. So a lot of moving parts. The SABC News Channel, as always, watching these developments for you as they continue to unfold.